Hey, welcome to episode 2 of Wheels from Reels. I'm in the studio today instead of it in my garage. And no, Jack, I'm sorry, I still have the stick mic. So when I started this channel, one thing I wanted to do with it is, there's information about movie cars everywhere. Everybody knows the minutia of everything there is to know about the General Lee or Ecto 1 or Back to the Future DeLorean and yada yada yada. So I kind of wanted to focus on movies and TV shows that you don't necessarily think of as a car film, but that has interesting and unique vehicles in it or cool stories behind some of the cars. And so today's episode, if you haven't read the title or clicked on the thumbnail, and my shirt is appropriate for it, is the Muppet Movie. Now, this is one of my favorite films. I know I said that about American Graffiti as well. I think a lot of the ones that I'm going to end up talking about are films that I really like, but I quote the Muppet Movie probably more than anything else I've ever seen. And the first vehicle I'm going to talk about is in a scene that I often quote from, and that is Kermit's Schwinn bicycle. Now, this is an important scene because this is really one of the first times you see the Muppets fully immersed in the real human world. And, of course, you get a little bit of that at the beginning of the movie when they're coming into the studio. But it's the first time you really see them immersed in the human world. The effect was done. There was a few different things they did. They had a regular puppet for close-up shots and a little bit of an animatronic that was hoisted by a crane. There was a crane with clear lines, like a marionette, basically. And the bicycle was, I think, about 3/4 scale with the full puppet on it, so that it would look right. But that scene when as he's riding towards the steamroller, you see the back wheel of the bike. If you look really closely, you see the back wheel of the bike kind of loses contact with the ground briefly. But that is one of the lines that I say every time I hit a construction zone. You'll hear me go,
"That's pretty dangerous, building a road in the middle of the street. I mean, if frogs couldn't hop, I'd be gone with the Schwinn."
1922 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. This is Statler and Waldorf's car that they pull into the movie studio in the beginning of the film. Not really a lot to say about it, just that it's holy crap, a 1922 Silver Ghost. It's easily the most expensive vehicle in the film and probably the rarest as well. And it's just, a hand-built, beautiful, beautiful car. 1970 Citroen. Yep, there was a Citroen in the first film that we covered. There's a Citroen in this one too. This is Gonzo's plumbing truck. Super heavily modified. Does not look very much like what you would imagine a Citroen looks like. And of course, it ends up crashed into the Studebaker and upside down on the roof. And they trade it and the Studebaker in at the car lot. Speaking of the car lot, 1965 Volkswagen Beetle, detachable fenders for narrow garages. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about Volkswagen Beetles, but I've owned a classic Beetle, and the way that the fenders mount, there's a series of bolts underneath it, and you take the bolts off, and the whole fender comes off. Not too non-standard. Most cars, the fenders are just bolted on, except for like a Carmen Ghia, but the thing that makes that interesting is that the fender will hang in place unless you slap it without the bolts on. And so that's all they did. They just unbolted the fender and he slapped it and it fell off. Detachable fenders for narrow garages. Still at the car lot, 1946 Ford Woody Deluxe. Another extremely rare car. It looks like it, you never really know with movie cars what kind of shape they're in. Typically they run well enough to do the scene and that's about it. But physically the car looks great. Like it looks like it was a great example. I do not know where that car is now, but I hope that it's still alive and well and running the streets. I did this with the last video where there were 3 main cars that I wanted to talk about, and I wasn't planning on doing that with this one, but here we are. So 1959 Cadillac. This is Doc Hopper's car. It is a limo. It's a Fleetwood 75. What can you say about the 59 Cadillac? It's Ecto 1. It's Fletch's car from Fletch Lives that he inherits, the pink one with the Confederate front tag. it's one of the quintessential beautiful cars. Uh, one of the best looking Cadillacs that was ever made, hands down. 1966 International Harvester Loadster. This is Electric Mayhem's bus. The bus is really cool. Obvious custom paint job. I love that the doors that are on it are painted to look like they're off of a phone booth. That's a really cool, nice touch. There's a little bit of a blooper thing here where a lot of the scenes inside the bus, it looks like the center of the bus is open, like an open roof, and then when you see the bus driving down the street, it doesn't have that. So, yeah, neat little thing, an awesome old school bus. And last but not least, the 1951 Studebaker Commander, a bear in his natural habitat, a Studebaker. Now, these cars were known as the bullet nose, and you may notice when you watch the film that the bullet nose part is gone. Here's why. There was a camera in there. That car is rigged up so that, because there are so many driving scenes with Kermit and Fozzie that require the puppets and the puppeteers to be in the front of the car without the car being hauled by someone else. And so what they did is that car is rigged up with the driver in the trunk with full controls for the car in the trunk and a monitor that ran to a camera that was in the bullet nose, and that's how he saw the drive. So you can still see the Studebaker if you'd like. It does not look very similar to the way it did in the film because the paint that was on it just didn't keep. So the car looks mainly silver, but you can see the setup in the trunk from where they had the driver back there, and that car is in the Studebaker Museum in South Bend, Indiana. Also, I just wanted to do a little honorable mention for Follow That Bird. Now, if you don't remember Follow That Bird, that was the Sesame Street film in which Big Bird goes off on a trek, gets lost essentially, and the Sesame Street gang have to come and find him. And there are 3 cars in it that are kind of neat. They're all Volkswagens, but only one of them looks like a Volkswagen. That is the yellow Volkswagen Beetle that Cookie Monster rides in and eats along the way because he doesn't have access to cookies. The next is Oscar the Grouch's car, the Sloppy Jalopy, I think is what they call it, and it looks like there's styling cues on it. Some of it looks like a Chevrolet, some of it looks like a old Ford. The headlights kind of are reminiscent of either Rolls or Caddy when they were using the really huge headlights, but ultimately it's a Volkswagen Beetle with a custom body that was built for the movie on it, which is the same as the final car, the Countmobile. That thing is amazing. I love the front license plate. I actually hit Travis up on my friend Travis runs this company called Celebrity Machines that makes custom movie replica license plates, and he does a thing every year where he takes suggestions from people, and so I suggested the Count license plate. So we'll see what happens. So hit Travis up and put in a word for the Countmobile. But the wings are really cool, and they continued to use that car after the film wrapped. It showed up in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and was run in the Christmas parades and Thanksgiving parades and did other appearances for years and years and years. I don't think it still exists anymore, but if it does, I'd love to own it. So if you have it, let me know, and I'll make you a sandwich or something. I don't have any money. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share next week's episode. I think we're going to do Bones. That was one of the suggestions I had from some of my Facebook friends when I first decided I was going to launch the channel. This is going to require a little bit of research. I've never actually even seen the show. From what I understand, it kind of falls in line, though, as far as it's not a car show, but there are cars in it that deeply have meaning for some of the characters. So tentatively, it's going to be Bones. Again, it requires me to research it, and I may not be on board. We'll see. So, subject to change, but possibly Bones. Again, like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.